Paruparim Maturim Gostavatim Radhakundam Girivaram Ho Radhika Madhavasam Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi Jai Vishnu Pad Srila Bhakti Sunda Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Coming to you from Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, West London. We are blessed with the presence of His Holiness Bhakti Pavan Janardhan Maharaj, but he has been in India for 2 weeks and his lungs are a little weak, a little tired, worn out from all the dust. Even though the dust is transcendental, it can impact your lungs. So I'm here filling in for Maharaj. But if you're lucky, you may see him tomorrow or in the coming few days. Keep your fingers crossed. Say a prayer to the Lord. So we're reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 10, entitled Lord Chaitanya Accepts Prasad. And we were, just to recap on the previous couple of days, we were reading about Mahaprabhu's dancing in and around the Jagannath temple with his devotees, experiencing the Ashta Sattvik Bhav, the 8 transcendental symptoms that are expressed physically as ecstatic symptoms, such as trembling, shaking, ashru. I looked them up yesterday. Incessant crying is one. Ashru, which means a crying, and other things. The body going very rigid, like a plank. Changing of color, the complexion goes very pale, like all the blood is drained out of the body. And shaking and sweating, etc. And Mahaprabhu is chanting the verse, or getting Swarup Damodar to chant the verse. Jagamohan Parimandu Yao. Where was this? Did we do that? No, we must have done that a couple of days ago. Jagamohan Parimandu Yao, which means I bow my head to Lord Jagannath in the Kirtan hall known as Jagamohan. Jagamohan Parimandu Yao. But Mahaprabhu was so choked up with his ecstatic bhav, his expressions of bhav, that all that came out was Jaja Gaga Parimumu. Jaja Gaga Parimumu. He's trying to say Jagamohan Parimandu Yao. But all that came out was Jaja Gaga Parimumu. And then we read about, just yesterday, we didn't really get to talk about it much. We read about, what else did we read? That's right, of this chapter, another instructive incident is that of Govinda, who is Mahaprabhu's servant, Mahaprabhu's attendant, his servant. And he is, after lunch, he massages the Lord's legs. Mahaprabhu falls asleep, and then Govinda would then go and take his own lunch. But after the kirtan, after this extended kirtan in which Mahaprabhu is displaying all of these ecstatic symptoms, his body is very fatigued. So he pretty much just collapses in the doorway, lies down in the doorway. And Govinda does not want to step over Mahaprabhu. It's considered an offense to step over a devotee, particularly Mahaprabhu. So he can't get into the room, so he doesn't know what to do. But even though he's not supposed to, so eventually what he does is he places a cloth on Mahaprabhu and then kind of steps over like that. Massages Mahaprabhu, but then doesn't step back out. So he's still there when Mahaprabhu wakes up. So where is it here? Because there was there's an instructive principle here that we didn't get to talk about yesterday. So the Lord asked, when Mahaprabhu woke up, Govinda was still there. He asked, how did you enter the room? Govinda says, I didn't go to take my meal because you were blocking the door. So he goes, how did you enter the room? Govinda replies, mentally. He didn't actually vocalize it. My duty is to serve even though I have committed offenses. Even if I have to commit offenses and go to hell. But I wouldn't commit offenses. I wouldn't commit an offense in the interest of myself. But he didn't vocalize this. So he couldn't leave. There was no way to go. How could he leave? When he thought of crossing over the Lord's body, he considered it a great offense. And then, Kaviraj Goswami says, E sabahaya bhakti shastra shukshma marma, Chaitanya kripaya jani e sabadharma. These are some finer points of etiquette and devotional service. Only one who has received the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can understand these principles. Others cannot. So, the basic instructive point here is that the devotee will transgress etiquette in the interest of service. At a certain level of devotion, the devotee knows when to transgress etiquette. And we talked about the gopis receiving the foot dust of Krishna as an instance of raga bhakti, which transgresses etiquette. The etiquette of Vaidhi bhakti can be broken if one is actually situated in raga marg. The word actually being the operative word. Not imagining oneself to be there, but actually there. Then the rules that normally govern the process of bhakti, sadhana bhakti, they can be relaxed or even violated in the interest of service. Now what we have here is this is exactly what Govinda did. When his job was to massage Mahaprabhu, he stepped over Mahaprabhu's body to do that. So he violated etiquette in the interest of performing his service. Not for himself, but for Mahaprabhu's sake. But why didn't he leave? The whole point here is that he went into the room stepping over Mahaprabhu's body, but he didn't leave stepping out. Because stepping out would be to go take his own lunch. So he violated the etiquette of stepping over Mahaprabhu to massage Mahaprabhu, but he wouldn't do the same again when it was to go and have his take his food. And the point being made here is Seva lagi koti aparada nahigani svanimita aparada basi bayamani. I would not mind committing hundreds and thousands of offenses for the service of the Lord, but I greatly fear committing even a glimpse of an offense for my own self. So that was his thinking. Just like the gopis taking the dust. They don't mind going to hell if it serves the interests, if it serves some purpose, some service purpose. If it pleases Krishna, then whatever the consequence is actually inconsequential to them. The consequence becomes inconsequential. What is of consequence is the direct effect, whether it pleases Krishna or not. So Govinda is taking the same approach. And the second point is that this incident is recorded here, and Mahaprabhu arranged this, in a sense, to exhibit the glory of his devotees. So, not only does it show how devotees operate, but it highlights that principle, it highlights their behavior, it highlights their service sacrifice, their service nature, of willing to take all risk in the pleasure of the Lord, but not so for themselves. There's no self-forgetfulness. There's no selfish concern. And so Kaviraj Goswami says, the Lord is very interested in manifesting the exalted qualities of his devotees. That is why he engineered this incident. And why is that? You say, people sometimes they get into a new relationship and they like to go around and show each other to each other's friends. Check out the caliber of person that I've attracted. Showing each other off. I remember hearing it for the first time. This one devotee was part of the community, and then he went away for a while and came back with a partner, with a girlfriend, and they're cruising around at the Sunday feast. And I remember back at home, and then my mum going, "Oh, they're showing each other off." Jai Shri Gurudev Ki Jai. And as a kid, I was like, "What's going on there?" And then when you grow up, you realize the dynamics of this, the romance. In the throes of fresh romance, they're walking around showing each other off. Check out what I've pulled in, And so, but that's based on some kind of love, even though it may be a misguided love from a spiritual perspective. It's based on some kind of love. Look at the greatness of this person or what have you. Ultimately, in the material level, it's selfish. So it can't be, no example is perfect in that regard. But nonetheless, the Lord is like that. Check out my devotees, the people that love me. Look how great they are. He's showing off his devotees. The Lord likes to do that. So those are a couple of points from yesterday, and then we got to the point, the theme of this chapter where the Lord Chaitanya accepts prasad, and that is the prasad that the Bengali devotees bring with them every year, particularly the Raghavera Jali meaning bags, Raghavera Jali, the bags of Raghava Pandit, cooked mainly by his sister, Damayanti. So they're brought down. But all the other devotees, and that is the pastime where we are at right now. Keha kona prasada ani deya govinda tani ihayena avasya bhakshana karina goshani. Each devotee would bring a certain type of prasad. He would entrust it to Govinda and request him, "Please arrange that the Lord will surely eat this prasad." Keha paida, keha nadu, keha pitapana, bahumulya utama prasada prakara yaranana. Some bought paida, a coconut preparation, some bought sweet balls, cakes and sweet rice. The prasad was of different varieties, all very costly. Amuk e diache Govinda karini vedana, Dariraka Bali Prabhu Nakarena Bhakshana. Govinda would present the prasad and say to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, "This has been given by such and such a devotee." The Lord, however, would not actually eat it. He would simply say, "Keep it in storage." Darite garera barila ekakona sata janera bhakshyayata haila sanchayana. Govinda kept accumulating the food, and soon it filled the corner of the room. There was quite enough to feed at least 100 people. Govindere sabe puche kariya yatana amadata prasada prabhure ki karaila bhakshana. All the devotees asked Govinda with great eagerness, "Have you given Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the prasad brought by me?" Kahan kitchu kahi Govinda karivanchana aradina prabhure kahi nirvedavachana. When the devotees questioned Govinda, he had to tell them lies. Therefore, one day, he spoke to the Lord in disappointment. Acharyare mahashaya kariyayatane tomare kayate vastudena modestane. Many respectable devotees, headed by a waiter Acharya, make a great endeavor to entrust me with varieties of food for you. Tumi say, nakao tanra puche barabara, Katavanchana karimo kemani amara nestara. You don't eat it, but they ask me again and again. How long shall I go on cheating them? How shall I be freed from this responsibility? Prabhu kahe adivasya dukkha kanhemane keba kedi achetaha anaha ekane. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, why are you so foolishly unhappy? Bring here to me whatever they have given you. Etabali Mahaprabhu vasila bojane nama dare dare govinda kare nivadane. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down to eat. Then Govinda offered him the preparations one after another. And as he did so, he spoke the name of the person who had given each one. Acharyera ay paida panasara pupi, ay amrita gutika manda kapura kupi. These preparations, paida, sweet rice, cakes made with cream, and also amrita gutika, manda, and a pot of camphor, have been given by Advaita Acharya. Srivasa Panditera e Aneka Prakara Pitapana Amrita Manda Padma Janiyara. Next there are varieties of food, cakes, cream, Amrita Manda, Padma Chini, given by Srivas Pandit. Acharya Ratnera e Saba Upahara, Acharya Nidhira e Aneka Prakara. All these are gifts by Acharya Ratna, and these varieties of gifts are from Acharya Nidhi. Vasudeva Dattera e Murari Guptera Ara, Buddhimanta Kanera e Vividha Prakara. And all these varieties of food have been given by Vasudeva Datta, Murari Gupta, and Buddhimanta Khan. Shriman Sena, Shriman Pandita, Acharya Nandana, Tan Sabara Datta e Karaha Bojana. These are gifts by Shriman Sen, Shriman Pandit, Acharya Nandan. Please eat them all. Kulina Grameda e Aga, Agedeka Yata, Kandava Shilokeda e Katata. Here are the preparations made by the inhabitants of Kulinagram, and these have been made by the inhabitants of Kanda. Aiche Sabara Namalana Prabhura Agedare, Santushtahana Prabhu Saba Bojanakare. In this way, Govinda gave everyone's name as he put the food before the Lord. Being very satisfied, the Lord began to eat it all. Yadyape mase kera vasi mukuta narikela amrita guti kari panadi sakala tatapi nutana praya sabadravyera svara vasi vishvara nahe se prabhura prasada. The hard sweets made of coconut, mukuta narikela, the sweet balls, the many kinds of sweet drinks, and all the other preparations were at least a month old. But although they were old, they had not become tasteless or stale. Indeed, they had all stayed fresh. That is the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sata Janera Bhakshya Prabhu Dande Ke Kaila Arakechu Ache Bale Govinde Pujila. Within a very short time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ate enough for 100 people. Then he asked Govinda, is there anything more left? Govinda bale ragavera jale matra ache prabhu kahe hajirahu tahi dekumu pache. Govinda replied, now there are only the bags of Raghava. The Lord said, let them remain today, I shall see them later. Aradina prabhu yade nibrete bojana kaila Raghavera Jali Kuli Sakala Dekila. The next day, while taking his lunch in a secluded place, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu opened the bags of Raghava and inspected their contents one after another. Sabadravyera Kitchu Upayoga Kaila Svaru Sugandhi Deki Bahu Prasamsila. He tasted a little of everything they contained and praised it all for its flavor and aroma. Vatsareka Tari Ara Rakila Dariya Bojana Kale Swarupa Pariveshe Kasana. All the varieties of the remaining prasad were kept to eat throughout the year. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ate his lunch, Swarup Damodar would serve it little by little. Kaburatri Kale Kechu Karena Upayoga Bhaktira Shradhara Dravya Avasya Karena Upaboga. Sometimes Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would take some of it at night. The Lord certainly enjoys preparations made with faith and love of his devotees. Bhaktera Shraddhara Dravya. Preparations made with faith and love. Shraddhara. Bhaktera. And Prabhupada in the purport, of course, quotes the famous verse, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yomi Bhakta Prayashati Tadaham Bhaktuparitam Ashnami Prayatatmanaha. E Mata Mahaprabhu Bhakta Gana Sange Chaturmasya Gonaila Krishna Katarangi. Thus Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spent the entire period of Chaturmasya in the happiness of discussing topics of Krishna with his devotees. Madhya Madhya Acharyari Kare Nimantrana Gare Bhattarande Ara Vividha Vyanjana. From time to time, Advaita and others would invite Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for home-cooked rice and varieties of vegetables. Marichera Jala Ara Madhu Ramla Ara Ada Lavana Lembu Dugda Dadi Kanda Sara Saka Dui Chara Ara Sukutara Jola Nimbavartaki Ara Prishta Patola. They offered pungent preparations made with black pepper, sweet and sour preparations, ginger, salty preparations, limes, milk, yogurt, cheese, 4 kinds of spinach, 2 or 4 kinds of spinach, soup made with bitter melon, eggplant mixed with nimba flowers, and fried patola. Brishta pula badi ara mudga dali supa, vividha vyanjana rande prabhura ruchi anurupa. They also offered pula badi, liquid mung dal, and many vegetables, all cooked according to the Lord's taste. Jagannatera prasada ane karite mishrita, kahan eka yayena kahan ganera sahita. They would mix these preparations with the remnants of food from Lord Jagannath. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the invitations, he went sometimes alone and sometimes with his associates. Acharya Ratna, Acharya Nidhi, Nandana Raghava, Srivasari Yata Bhakta Viprasabha. Devotees like Acharya Ratna, Acharya Nidhi Nandan, Acharya Raghava Pandit and Srivas were all of the Brahmin caste. E Mata Nimantrana Karena Yatnakari, Vasudeva Gadadhara Dasa Gupta Murari, Kulinagrami Kandivashi, Ada Yatajana, Jagannatera Prasada Ani Kari Nimantrana. They would extend invitations to the Lord. Vasudev Datta, Gadadhara Das, Murari Gupta, the inhabitants of Kulinagram and Kanda, and many other devotees who were not Brahmanas by caste would purchase food offered to Lord Jagannath and then extend the invitations to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shivananda Senera Shuna Nimantranakyana Shivanandera Buddha Putrera Chaitanya Dasa Nama. Now hear about the invitation Shivananda Sen extended to the Lord. His eldest son was named Chaitanya Das, one of a couple of Chaitanya Dasas in Chaitanya-lila. Chaitanya Das, the oldest son of Shivananda Sen. Not the most famous son, but the oldest son. And then Chaitanya Das was also the father of Srinivas Acharya. We were talking yesterday. Srinivas, not Srivas Pandit, but Srinivas Acharya. His father's name was Chaitanya Das. And he was called that because he witnessed the sannyas ceremony of Mahaprabhu, and he was so dumbstruck by it, so traumatized by it, that after that he could only say Chaitanya, Chaitanya, Chaitanya. Because Mahaprabhu at that time was given the name Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. So previously he had a different name. But because he started after that only saying Chaitanya, Chaitanya, they called him Chaitanya Das. So there's like 2 or 3 Chaitanya Dasas in Chaitanya-lila. The other son, well, there are other sons, then there are three sons of Shivananda Sen. Chaitanya Das. Oldest, the youngest was the famous Kavi Karnapura, who we will no, I think it's earlier. trying to think where it could be coming up. We will read the pastime of Mahaprabhu. He as a baby, he sucks on Mahaprabhu's toe and is blessed with poetic ability as a result of that. That's Shivananda Sen's youngest son. Becomes Kavi Karnapura. Writes various dramas. Sri Chaitanya, Charitamrita Mahakavya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, I forget. And then, of course, the famous one. Well, they're all famous, but then there's also the it gives the identities of the Vrindavan Leela, identities of Mahaprabhu's associates. Gauragana Desha Dipika. So he writes those books, the youngest son. Prabhure milaite tanre sange anila, milaile prabhu tanra naman ta puchila. When Shivananda brought his son Chaitanya Das to be introduced to the Lord, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inquired about his name. Chaitanya Dasa Nam Shuni Kahe Gora Rai Kibanama Dharana Nacha Bhujana Nayai. When the Lord heard that his name was Chaitanya Das, he said, "What kind of name have you given him?" It's very difficult to understand. Say Nakahe Ye Janilun Say Nama Darila Etabali Mahaprabhure Nimantrana Kaila. Shivananda Sen replied, "He has kept the name that appeared to me from within." Then he invited Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for lunch. So he's saying he's given the name that I was inspired to give him, for obvious reasons. Jagannathera Bahu Mulya Prasada Anaila Bhaktagane Lana Prabhu Bojane Rasila. Shivananda Sen had brought very costly remnants of Lord Jagannath's food. He brought it in and offered it to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who sat down to accept the prasad with his associates. Shivanandera Gaurave Prabhu Karila Bojana Ati Guru Bojane Prabhura Prasana Nahimana. Because of Shivananda Sen's glories, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ate all kinds of prasad to honor his request. However, the Lord ate more than necessary, and therefore his mind was dissatisfied. Aradina Chaitanya Dasa Kaila Nimantrana Prabhuda Abhishta Bhuji Anila Vyanjana. The next day, Chaitanya Das, the son of Shivananda Sen, extended an invitation to the Lord. He could understand the Lord's mind, however, and therefore he arranged for a different kind of food. Dadhi lembu ada pula bada lavana samagri dekia prabhura prasana hailamana. He offered yogurt, limes, ginger, soft butter, and salt. Seeing all these arrangements, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased. Prabhu kahe e balaka amara mata jane santushta hailan ame iharan nimantrane. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "This boy knows my mind, therefore I am very satisfied to keep his invitation." Etabali dadhi bata karila bojana Chaitanya dasere dila uchista bhajana. After saying this, the Lord ate the rice mixed with yogurt and offered Chaitanya Das the remnants of his food. Charimasa e mata nimantraniyaya kona Vaishnava divasana hipaya. The 4 months of Chaturmasya passed in this manner, with the Lord accepting invitations from his devotees. Because of a heavy schedule of invitations, however, some of the Vaishnavas could not get an open day on which to invite the Lord. Yes?
Shivananda Sen? Can you just remind us?
Shivananda Sen is a devotee from... I forget the village he lives in. Kumarahata rings a bell, but that could be wrong. The same district. He doesn't live in Nadia, he lives in a separate town. Same area as Vasudev Ghosh, is another devotee of Mahaprabhu. But Shivananda Sen is a businessman, wealthy, successful businessman. And he is most famous for his service of organizing and sponsoring the travel of the devotees to Bengal every year to see Mahaprabhu. And there are also other pastimes. Like, remember we read that dog pastime? He was looking after the dog that latched onto the party when they're going to Bengal. This we're talking about the previous year. And then the dog was liberated, got a spiritual form after spontaneously dying, after sitting with Mahaprabhu and eating the coconut pulp and chanting Hari Hari. And then he's also famous for being the person where Mahaprabhu displayed all his three, you could say, types of manifestation: Avesh, Avirbhav, Shakshat. We talked about it a couple of months ago. Avesh means empowerment, when Mahaprabhu's energy empowers someone. Shakshat, Mahaprabhu's physical presence. And Avirbhav, where Mahaprabhu is present in spirit but not in physical form. So he's famous as the person who experienced all three of those varieties of manifestation. And he's also, well, there's many things, but he's also he used to take care of Vasudev Ghosh, who was very dear to Mahaprabhu. But he possessed a very high kind of fantastical spiritual sentiment, and he was famous, Vasudev Ghosh, for saying, let me absorb, let me take on all the karma of all the souls in the world. I will take on all their karma, let them all be liberated. I will take on all their karma, and if they can get Krishna Bhakti, I will take on all their karma. And Mahaprabhu then saying, oh, well, this is easy to do. If the Lord wants to do something like this, then all the karma of various souls can be obliterated. But because he was, anyway, the point being that Vasudev Ghosh was not very practically minded. Whenever money would come in, he would just spend it. It says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he would spend it the same day. So money would come and then money would go. And because of that, sometimes he would have trouble paying his bills. And so Mahaprabhu specifically instructed Shivananda Sain to take charge of his family's accounts, financial accounts, and help him out financially. Take care of Vasudev Ghosh. So Shivananda Sain is famous for a number of things, and being, of course, the father of, as we can see, Chaitanya Das and two others, Kavi Karnapura. The youngest son actually was named Puri Das. Mahaprabhu instructed him to be named Puri Das. But he later became famous as, his name is Paramananda Puri Das, but then he became famous as Kavi Karnapura later. And his poetic brilliance was expressed at a young age when he first authored his first poem. A play, I think, a nataka. I think a nataka means a play, but I forget the name. I don't want to mangle it. Sometimes get mixed up with different names. So Ramananda Roy's play was Jagannath Balabanataka. And another one of Kavi Karnapura's works was Sri Krishna, as we mentioned, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Mahakavya. Anyway, a couple of famous plays, and then another couple of famous books, including Gaura Ganadesha Dipika. Maybe we'll finish there. Says, continuing to talk about, actually we'll finish, this chapter is about to finish, so we'll finish it. Garadhara Pandita Bhattacharya Sarvabhauma Inha Sabara Ache Bhikshara Divasa Niyama. Gadadhar Pandit, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, or Gadadhar Pandit and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had fixed dates on which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would accept their invitations every month. Gopinathacharya, Jagadananda Kashishwara, Bhagavan Ramabhadracharya Shankara Vakreshwara, Madhye Madhye Garabate Kareni Mantrana, Anyara Nimantrane Prasade Kodi Duipana. Gopinathacharya, Jagadananda Kashishwara, Bhagavan Rambhadracharya, Shankara, and Vakreshwara, who are all Brahmins, extended invitations to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and offered him food cooked at home, whereas other devotees would pay 2 panas of small conch shells to purchase Jagannath's prasad and then invite the Lord. Pratame Achila Nirbanda Kaudi Charipana Ramachandra Puri Baye Gataila Nimantrana. At first, the cost of Jagannath prasad for an invitation was 4 panas of conch shells. But when Ramachandra Puri was there, the price was cut in half. I'm not sure if that was because, it was probably because, remember, Mahaprabhu reduced the amount he was eating when Ramachandra Puri was in town because he was criticizing. So Mahaprabhu reduced the amount, and then after he left, he resumed eating normal amounts. Otherwise, I'm not sure why they had reduced the cost. Makes sense. I mean, it's logical to assume, putting 2 and 2 together, that when someone was sponsoring or buying, they had an allotted amount that they would give to whoever was sponsoring Mahaprabhu's lunch or buying it. If they were a non-Brahmin, they would buy it from the temple, from whoever was vendoring the temple prasad. And so it's a fixed price for a certain amount. So I guess if they're supplying half the amount, then it would be half the price. It doesn't say exactly that, but I guess it lets the reader join the dots. Charimasa Rahi Godera Bhakti Vidaya Dila Nila Chalera Sangi Bhakta Sange Rahila. The devotees who came from Bengal stayed with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for 4 consecutive months, and then the Lord bade them farewell. After the Bengali devotees departed, the devotees who were the Lord's constant companions at Jagannath Puri stayed with the Lord. Eta kahilun prabhuda bhikshani mantrana bhakta data vastu yaiche kaila aswadana. Thus I have described how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted invitations and how he accepted and tasted the prasad offered by his devotees. Tara madhye ragavera jali vivarana, tara madhye parimunda nritya katana. In the midst of that narration are descriptions of Raghava Pandit's bags of food and the dancing in the temple of Jagannath. Shraddha kare shuni ye Chaitanya rakata, Chaitanya charane prema, paibe sarvata. One who hears about the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with faith and love will certainly attain ecstatic love for the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without fail. Shunite amrita sama judaya karnamana, say Bhagavan ye kari aswadana. Narrations of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities are just like nectar to hear. Indeed, they satisfy both the ears and the mind. One who tastes the nectar of these activities is certainly very fortunate. Shri Rupa Raghunatha Pare Yare Asha Chaitanya Charitamrita Kahi Krishna Dasa. Jai Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. And that's the end of chapter 10. And Srila Prabhupada writes, thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya-lila, 10th chapter, describing how Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tasted the prasad offered by his devotees. The next chapter, chapter 11, is a surprise. I can't think of what it is right now. I don't know. We'll have to see. So we start that tomorrow. We'll read a little from Real Truth by Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj. This subchapter is entitled Hankering for Krishna Prem. Krishna consciousness has no end. The Upanishads say, Om Purnam Ada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad. Krishna consciousness is infinite, and a sincere seeker will really get that type of ecstasy, infinite ecstasy through Krishna consciousness. As Krishna consciousness reveals itself more and more in our hearts, we may even become mad. What did Mahaprabhu himself say? Na prema gando sti darape mi haro krandami sobhagya param prakashitum vamsi valasya nana lokanam vina bibarmi yat prana patanga kanvrita. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya-lila 2:45. Really, I have no love for Krishna. If I did, then how could I be alive? I am living without Krishna, so how can I say I have love for Krishna? Mahaprabhu is full of Krishna prem, but his heart's expression is, Na prema gando sti darapi me haro. I have not even a little bit of hankering for Krishna. Actually, Mahaprabhu was hankering for Krishna prem so much, and he showed us the degree of hankering that is necessary for Krishna consciousness. He showed us that if we clearly and perfectly, without any haziness, realize that we need Krishna prem, then even Krishna will not be able to check us. We will get it. If I am very disturbed by the mundane environment and I sincerely pray to Krishna, please give me Krishna prem, then Krishna must give that to me. Krishna knows everything, and Krishna understands everything. Krishna is everywhere, and his divine play as the sweet absolute never stops. Even if Krishna does not want to give Krishna prem to us, his devotees will. Patitanam pavanebhyo. Sometimes Krishna likes to hide, but his devotees are always merciful. If they see anyone drowning, they will rescue him. The devotees will always give full support to a hankering soul. Even if Krishna ousts me from his jurisdiction, I still have hope if I have hankering for the service of Krishna under the affectionate guidance of his devotees. That is my life experience. It is not only a theory. I have seen many things in my life, and through that I am sure that even Krishna wants to oust me. He will not be able to if I have the affection of his devotees.
Again, this last sentence, please. He will not be able.
He says, I have seen many things in my life, and through that I am sure that even if Krishna wants to oust me, he will not be able to if I have the affection of his devotees.
Oust me? I mean,
Yeah. He will not be able to if I have the affection of his devotees. So only self-realization is necessary. Do I want Krishna prem or not? Bhakti, Krishna bhakti rasa bhavita matahi kriyatam yari katopi labdite. Tatra lolyam apimulyam ekalam janma koti sukrate na labdite. Famous verse from Padyavali, Rupa Goswami. We need transcendental ecstasy. We do not want sadness, sorrow, or inauspiciousness. We always need the opposite. We need something eternal, glorious, and beautiful. There is only one way to get that: hankering. Hankering gives us real property in our spiritual life. If I have hankering for Krishna prem, then I must search. Where is Krishna prem? It is very rare, but if I find anyone who has Krishna prem in their heart, then I must try to get his association. Through that person, I can understand what Krishna prem is, how much I need it, how much I will be satisfied by it, and so on. I will be able to understand everything through the sadhu who has Krishna prem in his heart. All the scriptures always praise the sadhus. A sadhu is chaste, honest, dedicated to the Lord with extreme love and affection. If we have a connection with a sadhu, with our guru, and we are conscious about that, then we can receive prem, love, and affection from him on the conscious level. Love and affection are transmitted from consciousness to consciousness, from heart to heart. The presence of love within the sadhu's consciousness can be transmitted to you and transform your consciousness. Hankering is our first necessity. Without hankering, we will not find that sadhu or Krishna prem. Many frustrated persons are searching in the wrong way. Our search should be filled with happiness, peace, and beauty. In that way we will seek. Is it here or there? If we are frustrated in one place, then we must look in another place. And wherever we find the devotional mood of Krishna prem, we must immediately buy it with our hankering. Hankering can give us everything, but kriyatam does not mean try to buy it. Kriyatam means buy it. As in, don't try, but just do it. The price of Krishna prem is hankering. Those were my words. The price of Krishna prem is hankering. Without hankering, without intense desire, we will never get Krishna prem, even if we have an ocean of sukriti. The only qualification and means is hankering, and without that, we will not get anything. So those last few paragraphs were Gurudev's purport, elaboration on that famous verse, Krishna Bhakti Rasa, Bhavita Matahi. Tatra lolyam. Lolyam means hankering. Api mulyam ekalam. Ekalam, the only way. Janma koti sukrite na labhyate. You won't get it. Labha, labhya, means gain. Sukrite na labhyate. You won't gain it through sukriti. Only through intense hankering.
This hankering is due to sukriti.
Is the hankering due to sukriti? Not directly, I wouldn't say. Not directly. I mean, the verse explicitly says that Krishna prem doesn't come from sukriti, from hankering. Then you go, well, if hankering comes from sukriti, then hankering is the precursor to sukriti. You can say, but indirectly Krishna prem comes from sukriti. But the verse categorically says it doesn't. So I think that's taking it a step too far. Sukriti can give one appreciation for spiritual, a general appreciation. It can give one a subjective environment that is favorable for faith. And from there, bhakti can begin. But there is a clear distinction between sukriti and bhakti. So sukriti can predispose one. You know, just like you can be predisposed to certain diseases if you have a certain constitution. So sukriti can give one a constitution predisposed to bhakti. Give one the fortune to be open to bhakti. But it's distinct from bhakti itself. So if one's open, favorable, then there's an opportunity to appreciate the concepts. For instance, if you speak to people, sometimes you meet people that have a complete lack of ability to appreciate spiritual concepts. It's the last thing they want to hear. It's almost like they're allergic to it. Like, no, go away, don't. They absolutely do not want to hear it. Where other people will give their time, will listen with a certain amount of sincerity, seriousness. So you can see they have sukriti to appreciate it, or at least try to appreciate it. At least give some time, give an ear. And those with greater sukriti, they will understand it. It will touch them. And that touching is not necessarily a rational thing. Often it's not a rational thing. Sukriti is not rational as such. It's not a logical equation. It is more a heartfelt appreciation, or Sukriti predisposes someone to being able to be touched by spiritual substance. Someone with no Sukriti, they can't be touched by spiritual substance. Maybe if the person is Nityananda Prabhu, distributing it, he supplies the Sukriti, supplies the faith. So there's always hope, but generally if someone is deficient in Sukriti, it's very difficult for them to appreciate spiritual concepts. And vice versa, when someone has when the Sukriti is, as if the certain Sukriti reaches a certain threshold, and when it reaches that threshold, then it can blossom and it can cause one to appreciate and practice bhakti. Mm-hmm. And then we have the stages of bhakti. Mm-hmm. So with a bit of Sukriti, a person can have faith. And faith is the first step of bhakti. Mm-hmm. And then from that can come lolyam, hankering.
Mm-hmm. From that faith.
Yeah, because you wouldn't hanker for it if you didn't have any faith. So you could say there is Sukriti operating in the background, mm-hmm. but there is no direct causation from Sukriti to prem, to hankering, lolyam.
You can have Sukriti without necessarily hankering, the show hankering.
Yeah, and this verse makes it clear, Janma koti sukrite nalabdyate. Janma, koti, millions of births. Janma means a birth. Koti, lots of them. Lots of births. Sukrite nalabdyate. No gain. Nalabdyate means no profit, no gain. Lobha means greed. Lobha means greed, profit, like that. So you won't get any profit. Nalabdyate. No profit. With lifetimes of Sukriti, you won't get it. So there's a distinction. Just like there's a distinction between giving money to the temple and actually doing service. Guru Maharaj makes this distinction. One is generative of Sukriti, and the other one generates bhakti. The two are separate. Some people think they can just give some money and then that's everything taken care of. But Guru Maharaj says, he makes the point that it's not even your money in the first place. Mm-hmm. Some energy that has come to you, and you think you can give a little bit, and that's bhakti. It's not bhakti. Mm-hmm. There are nuances to it, but that's the general principle. There's some kind of continuum, but it's not a guaranteed continuum. So there's some kind of continuum between Sukriti, meeting devotees, appreciating concepts of bhakti, developing faith in it, further associating with devotees again, and then going through some purificatory cleansing of the heart, and then hankering, coming to a place of hankering. As the verse says, Tatra lolyam apimulyam ekalam. Ekalam, the only, this the singular way of obtaining it. Kriyatam yadikotopi labdyate. And purchase it wherever you can find it, which you'll only do if you have that lolyam. Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Bhavan Janad Maharaj ki Jai. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopala Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudana. Giridhari Gopinath
Gopinatha Marana Mohana
Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohana
Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chanda Radharara Shiva Sari Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Rupa Sanatana Vata Raghunatha Jiva Gopala Vata Raghunatha Jai Gosai Kori Charana Mandana Jaha Hoite Vijana Karita Purana Jai Gosai Yara Mohitara Rasa Dasavara Pararenu Mura Pancharasa Sera Charana Seri Rasa Nivasa Yaname Yaname Jai Gosai Ave Bhaje Kolavasa Shri Guru Gauranga Sundar Radha Giridhar ki
Joy.
Chaminu Pashila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Deva Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Chaminu Pashila Bhakti Rakshya Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Chaminu Pashila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga ki Jai. Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Grantharaja Bhagavatam Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Jai. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur ki Jai. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardhan Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Kusumashra Maharaj ki Jai. Anati Koti Vaishnavinda ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat West London Chapter ki Jai. Shri Harinama Sankirtan ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premananda.